Morning. Okay, good, good, good. It's a beautiful day out there. It's a good day for gardening, right? Something we've been doing for the last few weeks. Welcome to everyone here in the sanctuary, as well as all those folks out there in the place we call Zoom land. We are glad, no matter how you show up, we're just glad that you do. So today, as I mentioned, we are winding up our series on emergence, and we all know the drill here. The drill is what I do a series. Each week we go back, we do a quick review, just in case you missed one of the prior talks. And I have to stop here for a second and do one of those shameless commercials, right? This is, if you have missed a talk, we post the talks on our Facebook page and on YouTube. So you follow us on Facebook or you follow us on YouTube, and you never have to miss another talk. Now, back to our regularly scheduled program. All right, emergence. We learned that emergence simply means, like a seed, we already have everything we need within us for our life's purpose to emerge. Unlike the seed, however, we are not dependent on outer circumstances for that emergence to occur. We simply take the steps necessary to make our life's emergence welcome, right? We're not making anything happen. It's already there. We are just making it welcome. And we've talked a lot about how we till the soil and how we do different things over the last few weeks. So I am sure everybody since week 1 has been tilling the soil of your souls, right? We've all been doing that. We've been using the mulch of our lives, wasting nothing, and we are feeding that soil with nutrient-rich, positive, and practical spirituality, planting seeds of healthy spiritual practices. That's where we are. So now all we do is just kind of kick back, relax, and just wait and see what happens, right? Hope for the best. Yes and no. First, the waiting part. There is an element of patience in this practice, right? You know, patience, it's our favorite, right? Everybody loves practicing patience. Yet if we return to our gardening metaphor for a moment, let's think about this. We've started out, we kind of have a vision of what we want our life to look like or what we think our soul's purpose might be. Vision might be a little blurry at first. That's okay. Or our vision might be grander than we think we can pull off. And that's good too, because our series book author, Derek Rydall, says, dream big. Because if the vision for your purpose in your life doesn't challenge you to change and to grow, it's really not worth it. So dream big. We prep the soil, we plant, we water, and then we wait. At least for a little while, you know, and sometimes we see results quicker than others. Yet there is always that very uncomfortable in between time, right? Where you just have to wait. We don't know really what's going to happen. And that is just so annoying sometimes, isn't it? You know, it's like we want to do the Jack and the Beanstalk thing. We want to plant, we want to go to bed, wake up the next day, bam, magic beanstalk, straight to heaven. Doesn't quite work that way in real life. At the same time, while we're waiting, we do continue to nourish and water the soil while we wait. So it's an active waiting. When discussing our spiritual gardens, these practices that we use are what our series author Rydall calls creating congruent conditions. We are creating congruent conditions, and all that means is that we are incorporating positive practices and surrounding ourselves with people who help us make our soul's emergence welcome. So what we're looking at today are some of those practices, right? And some of those practices are what Rydall calls emergineering, because you can't have enough new fun terms, right? Today we are emergineering. And we're going to start with planning. And planning is always good. Yeah, planning in the emergence process is a bit different than standard planning. Because with standard planning, we normally start from a place of deficiency, right? We're missing something, or we think we're less than, we're deficient somehow. So we make a plan to address those deficiencies. And in those cases, those plans are very, very specific. We're missing this. So to get that out there, we start with A, whatever A is. And you have to finish A before you go to B, before you go to C, and so forth and so on. And that is the plan, and you best not deviate from the plan. Nothing wrong with a good plan. People on the board will tell you, I love a good plan. I do love a good plan, and I like things to go a certain way. At the same time, in emergence, what we use is something called quantum planning. Quantum planning sounds all fancy and difficult, doesn't it? Complicated. In fact, when I first read about this in the book, I thought, oh, really? Quantum planning, are you kidding me? How am I supposed to explain this in a 20-minute talk that is already just chock full of information? So I stepped away for a bit, did a little more reading, did a little meditation and so forth, took several walks, came back to the talk that I was writing, and once I thought about it and cleared my mind a bit, quantum planning is not that hard. It's not that difficult. Because with quantum planning, all we're doing is considering multiple strategies to explore various possibilities. That's all it is. So we can say that quantum planning, what it does is it requires us to practice non-attachment. Non-attachment. Now, this approach, quantum planning, is recognized as an effective business practice. Yet, if you think about it, when you talk about non-attachment, it kind of has a Buddhist vibe to it, doesn't it? Yeah, Buddhism teaches us that, there's suffering in life. Why? Because we are attached to life being a certain way. And the good news is we can alleviate that suffering by doing what? Practicing non-attachment. And in Buddhism, you practice non-attachment by following things like the Eightfold Path. Yet it really doesn't matter what your spiritual tradition is, because practicing non-attachment, regardless of how we do it, is both healthy and challenging. So we're back to planning. We've all made plans throughout our lives, right? At different times. And we like our plans. We love our plans because we are smart and we know what we're doing. And sometimes we write out our plans. You have the 1-year plan, the 3-year, the 5-year. Some of us have used or still use vision boards to vision our lives. And we like it. We like it. And you know what? There's not a thing wrong with any of that. Not a thing is wrong with that. The challenge, though, however, is when we go to that extent, when we have that level of detail in our plans, we get really attached. Because that's our plan, and we have put so much hard work into it, we just don't want to let it go. So what quantum planning teaches us is don't get too hung up on that. Write out your plans, do your vision boards, do all of that. That's all fine and good. Just don't get too attached to a plan. Dream big. Explore. Try different things. Even if the plan you're on is working and you're able to tick off the things as you go down, it's going okay, keep an open mind, because you know what? Something better, something more effective may come along. Don't let the good get in the way of the great. Another possible Emergeneering practice is to give what appears to be missing. Give what appears to be missing. Now, of course, in Unity, we teach that the universe, source, God, whatever we choose to call it, is unlimited and is abundant. So in reality, in the absolute, there really is nothing missing. Yet when we look around, it certainly feels that way and looks that way. Sometimes, doesn't it? Give what is missing. Give what appears to be missing is biblical. In the Message translation of Luke chapter 6 and verse 28 or 38, our master teacher Jesus is quoted as saying, "Give away your life." Give away your life. You'll find life, give him back, but not merely give him back. Give him back with bonus and blessing. Giving, not getting, is the way. Generosity begets generosity. Now, a lot of folks will read this, and the way I heard this interpreted growing up was Jesus was talking about money. He was talking about financial giving, and you can look at it that way. That's a valid way of looking at it. At the same time, notice what Jesus said, give away your life. So this is more than money. Money can be part of it, but Jesus says give away your life. So that includes things like forgiveness and love and peace and understanding and friendship and all the good stuff. If you want a friend, be a friend. If you want forgiveness, practice forgiveness. If you want people to understand you, try understanding others. And don't wait for somebody else to get the ball rolling. Somebody has to get the ball rolling, so why not us? Another practice in Emergeneering is what Rydall calls acting as if. Now, it hasn't been that long ago that, as if was kind of pejorative, right? Seen as very negative. It's like, well, one day Danny is going to be a Unity minister, as if. I would have said as if 20 years ago, okay? I would have said as if. But this is different. Acting as if for Rydall means that acting as if something is true activates something that in reality is true but has not yet manifested. Or in other words, action is belief in work clothes. So when you're thinking about living as if or acting as if, ask yourself questions like, what would I do if I was totally loved and supported? What would I do if I were brilliant and talented? Because we are, What would I do if I had everything I need? Because we do. What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? Wayne Dyer says there's no such thing as failure. We just produce results. How would I feel? How would I be in this world? Think about that. Reflect on that for a bit, and then live like it. Live as if. Some folks call this fake it till you make it. Now, what I call this is faith it, F-A-I-T-H, faith it until you become it. Faith it till you become it. Yet another practice in our Emergeneering toolbox is embrace what appears broken. Embrace what appears broken. Or as Carl Jung is quoted as saying, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. No coming to consciousness without pain. Well, that is certainly uplifting, isn't it? Thank you, Carl Jung. Yet, I believe there is truth in his words. See, coming to consciousness requires the C word, something we call change. Another favorite practice, right? Change. And embracing change for most of us just ranks right up there with getting a colonoscopy, doesn't it? We don't like it. We don't like it. It's tough. At the same time, consider this. What holiday in the church year did we just celebrate? Easter. Recently celebrated Easter, and we love Easter because it's all about new life and resurrection and all of the good stuff. It is a huge celebration. But remember, you can't have a resurrection without something dying first. And none of us really like talking about that very much, now do we? Rydall says that when we resist this emerging impulse, or what he calls the urge to emerge, we do it often because we're afraid of change. And we're afraid of change because to our egos, it threatens our egos because our egos think that change requires a death of a certain part of our ego. And our egos don't like that. So we bury it. We resist. What do we say? What we resist persists. When we continue to resist and we continue to keep this inside of us, what else do we teach? What eventually is inside is going to find its way out. And sometimes that is going to look really ugly if we don't deal with it. Sometimes it can be destructive, manifesting as disease or financial collapse, relationship meltdowns, all kinds of unpleasant things. But I want to be very clear here. When stuff like that is going on in our lives and we know we're resisting a change and stuff starts going sideways, there is no outer God who is punishing us. I want to make that clear. We're not blaming here. We don't teach that. We're not being punished for our sins. Because I think, we're not punished. I guess the saying is, we're not punished for our sins as much as we are punished by them. And humanity does a pretty good job of punishing one another and ourselves already. So we don't need an outer God piling on to all this. Rydall believes that we can use these occurrences as lessons, as wake-up calls. What do we call it? The bull mulch. We can use this as the mulch of our lives, as a sign that it is time to wake up and to open up. Or as the Gospel of Thomas says, if you bring forth what is within you, it will save you. If you do not bring forth that which is within you, it will destroy you. Quoting Rydall, our suffering carries the seeds of our salvation. Our problems contain the answers to our prayers, and our darkness is a womb where our greater light is born. I'll repeat that. Our suffering carries the seeds of our salvation. Our problems contain the answers to our prayers, and our darkness is a womb where our greater light is born. I like that. And our final practice, we end up right where we started with today's talk. Patience. But did you know there are actually different levels of patience? I did not know that until I read this book. There are different levels of patience, and what Rydall calls the 3 phases of waiting. The 3 phases of waiting. And on one level, we talked about doing nothing. That is one level of patience. Doing nothing for a time. Waiting. Even when our bodies and our souls and every fiber in our being is screaming at us to do something, do anything to get what we think we need. To practice this waiting, this level of patience. In unity, we would say requires us to activate our powers of strength, will, and faith to hold the line for this level of patience. On another level, patience means cultivating our inner stillness and an inner receptivity to what is unfolding in our lives, regardless of what's happening. Inner stillness and receptivity. Accept what is. We have a practice for that in unity as well. It's called going into the silence as part of our prayer and meditation. Like our physical gardens, it may look like nothing is happening when we do this. Oh, but deep down within us, we are receiving the nourishment we need for the long haul. Finally, patience is about staying planted where we are. Not this, that, this, that, this, that. Staying planted where we are for a time, rooting down to rise up. Taking the time to root down, being patient enough to root down far enough to connect with our source. So that when eventually our soul's purpose, when we emerge into the light, we will be able to withstand the storms of life that last week, remember, they're going to come. Even when you do all this spiritual work and you are so good at it and so enlightened and doing so well, it's still going to happen. Rooting down to rise up, to stay strong in the storms. One more thing. When you do this whole practice we've been talking about, know that the person you were when you started is going to be a very different person as your soul's purpose emerges. Oh, and that vision for your life that you had in the beginning, it's going to be nothing like what eventually manifests in your life. And you know what I believe? I believe it will be so much better. And so it is.